That's it. We are live on the internet. How's it going?
Good. How are you doing?
Fantastic. So how many weeks into quarantine are you now?
The truth is, I don't know. I think it's almost every other night I say to my wife, I'm like, how far into this are we now? And
Right?
yeah, she can keep it to the day.
That's impressive.
Me, yeah. She'll be like, oh, it's like, day 22. Uh, on the other hand, I'm like, it was been 3 weeks? She's like, no, we're on week 4, going into the 5th. I'm like, what? No way. Yeah, so this is bizarre. It really is. It's like I'm living in a bizarro world.
And it doesn't look like it has any end in sight, right? I mean, this seems like it's going to go on for a while.
Yeah, I mean, a lot, I've been hearing, I'm in New York, and right now they're saying that my county that I live in, Suffolk County, is now the new epicenter of the virus. So yay
Oh
for us.
no.
Yeah, hey, it's something about my county that I can be proud of, I guess.
Yeah, it's like being proud of Florida for any of the number of things that we should not be proud of. So yeah, I
Exactly.
get it. Yeah.
Yeah, so you know, I guess the end isn't as nearly in sight for us, I think, because now we're supposedly nearing the peak here, whereas I guess they thought New York City peaked a couple days ago, but then they had more deaths yesterday than they had in any other day. So you know the thing is, with these numbers, you don't know. You're not going to know. Honestly, you can't really do the analysis until after the fact. So we could say we think we're here. We can say we think, we're nearing the peak. But it's not going until you go back and look at the data that you go, okay, that's when the peak was, and so. And I think you fall into a problem when you deal like I've said this often. I actually had a blog post about this that science is great, but scientists' messaging is terrible. So scientists are very bad, and the science community is very bad at messaging and getting the message out. And when we do try to get the message out, I think sometimes it comes across as being, pretentious. And I think that we have a hard time relating with people. And that's why, I love people like Neil deGrasse Tyson, because he makes science relatable. And I was a science teacher, so that was my job, was to make science relatable. But even I have a hard time getting these ideas out, because scientists understand certain things inherently that other people don't. And and that's a given. With any expert, you're going to have people understand things, and then how good at you are conveying your message without being condescending. And I think a lot of times people take it when you, especially in science, that when you tell someone a truth, or something that we know to be a fact, that they may not know, that the second you do that and you challenge what they may already believe, that now you're being condescending, or you're being, you're putting them down. And so that messaging becomes an issue. And the other issue we have is that people want definite answers, and science actually isn't about that. And we think it is, because every scientist portrayed in TV shows and in the movies, if you ever watch them in a movie, the scientist is always, portrayed as either the evil person who,
Yeah.
who has no scruples and is morally, ambiguous, or they have the exact answer at the right moment, and it's like, eureka. And
And they're omnicompetent, right? They're good at biology, physics, chemistry. Like a quote unquote scientist knows everything sciencey on Earth.
oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Like, you know, I, I, I mean, I'm pretty lucky. I have a pretty solid background in all the sciences. So, I'm obviously my background is in biology, and specifically genetics, and and a little and chemistry. So my background in bio and chemistry are great, and I can speak as an expert in those two fields. But I know a lot of physics, and I was only I think 6 credits shy of getting certified as a physics teacher as well. So I do know my physics. In fact, the one thing I stink at is geology, and that's just because I hate rocks. And yeah, so the earth sciences I'm not as big on, but yeah. I mean, there's this impression that once you know science, you know all of the science. And and it's funny, because my daughter was taking earth science last year, and she would ask me some questions, and my answer would be, I don't know. She's like, I thought you were a scientist. I'm like, but I don't know that, it's like, yeah, so we're not omniscient. We don't know it all. And I think a lot of people, take it that way. And so, scientists don't like to say something's a fact until we've deliberated on it, until we've analyzed the data and looked at those things. And that's not how most people operate. Like, you just give me an answer. And a lot of times the scientists can't do that. So I think what you're finding with this disease is that the science behind it is still, it's still being discovered. And, people want definitive answers and we can't give it. So then when you don't get that definitive answer and they see, they almost see it as like, oh, they're vacillating on this. And we're not. We're just, we're taking it all in and we're trying to come up with, some answers. And so I see that from the scientific community in this case, and I feel for them. Dr. Fauci up there speaking, I see him trying to, temper his words in a way to try to, because he understands this stuff and he knows the message he's trying to convey. And, and I think he's a great communicator actually. So that's, it's wonderful. He does get right to the point. But yeah, that messaging issue becomes a problem. So when people want an answer for all this, it's hard. So like when you ask me, how's everything going? It's hard to put your finger on it and say, specifically where things are.
So one new thing that I've been hearing more about, and in contradiction to what we initially heard from the CDC, but there seems to be a movement in the other direction now, is about masks. That all of the smart people that I've been hearing talk have been saying that, yeah, it's true, masks aren't going to help you, but masks are an important part of stopping the spread of this, because they keep what you have from going to other people. So, theoretically, if everyone wears a mask in public and around each other, then we slow the transmission of the disease. My mask protects me from you, and your mask protects you from me, even homemade ones. So yeah, that's, I guess, I meant to mention that earlier, from last week to this week, if there's one new thing that's been developed, it's that I've seen a lot of smart scientists, virologists, especially internationally, saying, I don't know what, certain organizations are saying, but yeah, masks are important, and people should be wearing them.
Yeah, it would be smart to wear a mask anyhow. When they say it doesn't help you, I think that's a generalization. I mean, it can help you. I'll be honest. If you think of what cloth is, it's just a bunch of fibers that are all woven together. So they form this like matrix of like, it's like organized tangling is
right.
Basically how you think of a cloth, right? So if you have layers of cloth, that virus, which is a tiny particle, it has to navigate through those fibers to get to your mouth. And so it can get stuck in those fibers. So you're providing a physical barrier. I mean, that's why you have hairs in your nose and the back of your throat, and you have these surfaces in your own body that do that same thing, that they provide a physical barrier that can capture viral particles or bacterium and things like that to prevent it from getting into your actual cells. So if you put a mask on, that can serve that function. And it works the other way around too. So like if I'm infected and I'm breathing, most of the viral particles now are going to be trapped in that matrix that the fibers make. So it kind of works both ways, although the efficacy is greater on the end of the person infected, because when they're breathing out or they're coughing or sneezing, they're not, the viral load that they would be expelling is actually decreased because a lot of it's being captured by that mask. So, and so that works much better on that end than it would on yours. It's just the law of averages. But if you're talking about, viral load as far as getting infected, because I think we talked about this last week, in order for you to get infected, it doesn't take one virus. So it takes a certain number, and that load is dependent upon every different disease has a different viral load. Usually in novel viruses, in this case, this is a novel virus, the viral load is smaller because your body has no natural defenses for it yet. We have no built up immunity yet for it. So as a result of that, the load's usually smaller. So anything you can do to lower that number is great. So putting the mask on for yourself, yeah, I think it's effective. But the problem is that if you have this mask, now let's say the mask did capture the viral particles, how you take that mask off is just as important as the fact that you had it on and what you do with it. Because if you take it off and you're handling it, from the front and everything, now those viral particles that were stuck in the mask can transfer to your hands, and then you're touching your face, and that transmits it back. So I think that the caution they give about the effectiveness for you is based on the fact that most people don't understand sterile technique and don't really practice it very well. So you wouldn't know how to use that mask effectively on your end. So I think playing the law of averages, yeah, it's much better for the person who's infected to prevent the transmission than having it on you, preventing you from being infected.
And if we all assume that we're all infected, right, because that's a good way to operate, then the idea is that we should probably all be wearing masks all the time, right? So there was something else I was going to say about that. Oh, but societally it's weird, right? The idea of wearing a mask, I can't see your face, I can't, you can't see mine. It's hard to, it's kind of scary looking. I think it's going to be hard for people to get over the societal shift that's required for everyone or a lot of people to wear masks regularly, like while we're hanging out, right? I think that's kind of a weird jump, especially if we don't realize that I'm wearing a mask to protect you, right? That it's a polite thing. Like, I'm not doing it for me. Like, I've got this mask on because I care about you. I think when people get that idea, it'll help a little bit. But until people kind of get that thought that my mask protects you, then I think it's going to be a tough road for people.
Yeah, and the thing is, we're definitely not, especially in our society, we're not used to that. If you look at, it's funny, over the past 10 or 15 years, if you've seen just, pictures or footage coming out of Asia, a lot of Asian nations, people have been wearing masks for years. And the funny thing is that, we saw that as alien, and I think now that's starting to change. We're starting to see why maybe they were doing that. And Asia has had much more experience, honestly, with pandemics themselves, or endemics, really. And so they've had experience with this. So that experience has led to a cultural change for them, where they wear masks more often. And the thought process there is, protecting us all, and that's the truth. I mean, you're wearing the mask not just for you; you're wearing it for everybody. And yeah, we should be treating it that we're all we're all sick. I know we talked about this, I think, in the first podcast, that a lot of times people say knowledge is power, and I say knowledge is paranoia.
Yeah.
And that was the truth when I learned the microbiology that I had learned. It totally freaked me out, and I've remained freaked out to this day. So when I would teach my students, especially when we did immunity, I would get them freaked out, because I would tell them all different ways that, you could get, infected, and remind them of the bacteria that's crawling all over the food that they eat and all over their bodies. And, that everything like it's infected and diseased. And so that's a way to look at things. So, yeah, I mean, I actually see a positive in all this, at the end of the day, that we're going to realize that, there's some things we could be doing better. I know societally, the idea of shaking hands is what we accept, but it's really terrible. I mean, touching someone else's hand, and then that's awful. I mean, we really shouldn't do it. And, when I speak at schools, a lot of times people want to shake my hand, and I always feel bad because I won't. I fist bump. I'm like, yep, here you go. And that's not, I'm not trying to be rude, and I don't want to shake your hand.
Right.
And,
I just want to touch you. Yeah.
Right. I mean, I don't mind making contact, but I want to make contact that limits my chances of getting infected by any diseases you happen to be carrying. And we all do.
So do you think a fist bump is more safe than the handshake?
Absolutely. And again, the reason why a fist bump would be better is using the back of your hand. So the back of your hand is much less likely to come in contact with your face. Most infection happens through respiratory surfaces. So either your nose or your mouth. Honestly, most of it comes in through the mouth. And so if you've got it on your hands, and then you go to touch your face, the likelihood of you transmitting those pathogens to your body is much greater. So if you want to limit that, then you limit the surface that you're touching with. So an elbow bump or a fist bump, you're gonna it's like I've said, it's like playing roulette. So the more things you do to prevent that exposure, the less bullets you're putting in the chamber. I mean, there's always bullets in the chamber. You know, you're going to get sick. You're going to come across a pathogen. The question is, what have you done to try and, you know, limit it? And, you know, so every little thing you do can make a difference.
So yeah, you think about that, right? You think handshaking is going to go away?
I don't know if it'll go away, but I think you're going to see a lot more people, kind of reluctant to do it. Like I, I've been reluctant to do it for years. You know, I'll have, like I said, you know, people and they'll put their hand out to shake, and I just go, you know. So I think you'll see a lot more of that, you know, in general, and I think it'll be more accepted now too. Because sometimes I'll get a look like, oh, okay, he's not going to shake my hand, and or hugging. I'm not a big hugger. I love hugging my family, but strangers, it's like, you know, I don't know. It's like that getting that close. I think again that kind of loops back around on messaging, right? Like I don't want to come across as being cold and uncaring, but I also don't have the time to explain to you why I don't want to hug you. And it's not that I don't like you, and it's not that I don't care for you, and it's not that I don't have, you know, empathy towards you. It's that I understand the ramifications of what can happen if we do get this close to each other, and I don't want that to happen. No offense, but I don't have time. You don't have time to tell somebody that, so you know, it's much easier to just be like, you know, they go to hug you, you know, oh, I'll give you a fist bump instead. So yeah, so I think societally we're going to see that change at least a little bit, which is a good thing.
So I wanted to talk to you. Those two things. One is, has your family, because I don't have this at my house, has your family started to get normalized to what's going on now? Does it feel more routine?
No,
No?
I think it's gotten worse. I in some ways there's a routine, and it's become a little redundant. Absolutely. In that case, there's some, you know, there's some redundancy that's just kicked in, that normalcy is now. I think it'll be a shock to go back to regular. Like my wife, like I said, she's a teacher, and she's had to adjust everything. I mean, they built everything from the ground up in no time. I'm so impressed by what they've been able to do. But she's kind of settled into this new normal that she's used to now. And so, in some ways, yes, but in other ways, things have gotten, like my daughters, I can tell they're getting so depressed. They're just like, okay, I kind of had enough of this. And, you know, I can see it. I can see, like, you know, in the first 2 weeks, it was like, yeah, we're getting over this. You know, we're gonna get together, have family time, and we'll watch movies, and you know, and that's kind of been like, oh, you know, like it's slowed down. So in some ways, yes, we've adjusted and found this new normal. But in other ways, there's been this kind of, I don't know, kind of like malaise that's settled over my whole family. That's like, ugh, like, what are we doing today? Oh, same thing as we did yesterday. You know, it's so yeah, it's getting a little redundant, and you know, I'm looking for that, you know, that break in the sky that, you know, lets the sun shine through, and I haven't seen it yet. And I keep getting questions from my friends too, because they all reach out to me like, when do you think this is going to end? Like, I want your answer, and I'm like, I don't really have one, you know. So, and my family asks me the same thing. It's like daily, like, Dad, you haven't? No, I don't have an answer. I'm sorry. So yeah, so it's weird. It's just, you know, and that's why I think I have this problem with understanding, you know, what day is it? How long have we been into this? Because now it feels like forever.
Right. Yeah. It both feels like it just happened, like we're brand new into it, and it's been going on forever, like it's our whole lives.
Yeah, yeah. It's, you know, and so many things have changed that, you know, like, I went out this morning. Today's my birthday, so
Oh, happy birthday!
oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm old.
Mine is in 10 days.
Oh, cool. See, look at
Yeah.
that. Yeah, so it was my birthday this morning, and I hate birthdays. I'm not a birthday person, and my family's known this. My wife has known this since she's met me. I see no point. I guess it's a scientist in me. I see no point in celebrating the fact that, you know, the anniversary of my, you know, my first, you know, complete revolution around the sun, and I don't see any special, you know, there's nothing. Okay, we all do it. Like, you know, everyone who's alive has a birthday, so I just don't. It's not a big deal for me. And so my family every year asks me, what can we get you for your birthday? And I honestly answer, nothing. I have you. I don't want anything. Honestly, I don't want you to go out of the way and do anything, because, you know, the day doesn't really mean much to me. So I don't. And the best, I told them this morning, today was the best. When I woke up this morning, because the last month we've been basically kept from doing anything, they couldn't go out and go shopping. They couldn't go out and so they made me things. And I was so excited. I'm like, this is it. This is like, I got homemade cards and paintings from like my kids. And I'm like, this is it. This makes birthdays worth it. And my kids are like, Dad, you're weird. You're so weird. And I'm like, no, this is what I want. I'm like, I feel like I'm back in like, colonial times. Like my kids had to just make me a gift. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And, so that part of the new normal has been great. But this morning my wife's like, what do you want for breakfast? And I've been the only one going out. I said, I want to limit any exposure for my family. I know how to, practice, some sterile technique. So I'm like, if anyone's going to go out, it'll be me because, I have some experience in this. So, I have my gloves, I have my mask and everything. So I went out this morning because I told you we have that little deli that's right by my house. And I was like, I want breakfast sandwiches this morning. That's what I want for my birthday breakfast. So I went up there and, it was weird. It felt out of place. And that would be a totally normal thing for me normally.
Right.
And, and I walked up there and first of all, the parking lot was empty. And usually there's always a couple cars there and people there and it was just empty. And when I walked in and I ordered breakfast sandwiches, the guy's like, oh, you want breakfast? And it was like bizarre because I guess they're not used to that. So yeah, this new normal's become a little weird in some ways too. It's kind of eerie.
I'm with you on the birthday thing, by the way. I don't want anything. I mean, let's be honest. If I wanted something badly enough, I'd have bought it, right? Like, I would have it. I'm an adult. I would have bought it for myself if it was that important, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, all the stuff you're gonna get me is stuff I didn't want that much, so I'm good. I told everybody. I say this for Christmas. I'm real hard at it about it for Christmas. For Christmas, I have a strict don't give, don't receive policy. Like, I don't want anything. I'm not giving you anything. We're good. Like, no exchanging. And birthday, same thing. Like, I'm good. I don't want anything. I want your company. I want your I want, I'd like to do something with you, but please don't give me a gift. Like, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm totally the same way. And
yeah.
funny thing, every year I say the same thing. It's like they don't believe me. And like, oh, that can't be. That can't be. You must want something. And
Right.
I'm like, no, I don't. And they'll be like, what, is there anything you want? And I'm like you said, no, I have it. And,
Right.
And if there is something I want, I usually think of it too late. And it's usually something practical, which again, my family doesn't understand. Like, I love practicality. So there may be a tool I need. I'm like, oh yeah, I could totally use like, a circular saw, but that's, who's going to ask for that? Or,
Right.
and so, yeah. So don't get me something just to get me something. And I've tried to stress this every year. And every year, like, my wife bends over backwards trying to find the perfect gift. Meanwhile, the perfect gift is like, I don't know, make me breakfast. Or just,
Right.
give me a little note. She made me a card. She couldn't get out to the store, so she had to made me a card this morning. I'm like, this is the best card ever. This is the best one. I was like, you should do this all the time. And they shook their heads. Like, my whole family, like, Dad, you're weird. And I'm like, no, this is it. This is what I want.
Right.
So,
like, actual time and care.
Exactly. And this is funny too. So my 5-year-old Melina, yesterday she was talking. She knew my birthday is coming, and she knew that today, or it was tomorrow. Yesterday was my birthday, and I said, yeah, I turned 45 today. So I told my daughter, yeah, I'm going to be old tomorrow. So when I woke up this morning, she wouldn't kiss me. She stayed away from me, and I'm like, what's going on? So I turned to my wife, what's wrong with her? Why is she so upset? And it's the cutest thing. My wife said, oh, she's upset because you're not old. And I'm like, wait, what? She goes, well, you said you're getting old, you're going to be old tomorrow. And I was like, yeah, I'm turning 45, like halfway to 90. I feel like that's kind of, old. And my daughter expected, like, for me to wake up as an old man. And,
right, to be gray hair and yeah.
Right. And I wasn't, I looked the same as I did yesterday. And so she was upset that I wasn't old. So,
She thought that'd be cool if you looked old all of a sudden.
Yeah, I guess so. And of course, I'm glad I don't look old, but
yeah, so is she. Or she will be, but yeah.
Right. So yeah, but good stuff.
That is funny. So you and I are both in the water safety universe, right? And usually summer is the big push for everything, right? For us as a business, it's obviously the entirety of our year. We do all of our sales from middle of March, beginning of April through the end of July. Like that's it. 80% of our business comes from April, May, June, July, and that's it. We drop off like a rock. The faucet shuts off at the end of July. It's actually kind of eerie. You go from being what some of our dealers call like pool fence boot camp, where you're working 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, to it just goes away, and then you have nothing to do. And that's our reality. And also on the education side, it's when we do all of our press. It's when we do all of our marketing. It's when I'm doing videos all the time. It's when TV stations want to interview me, and I'm on the radio, and I'm writing guest blogs for people, and it's the big pool safety time. And I know for all the nonprofits, it's when you're doing your 5Ks, your symposiums, your get-togethers, your golf outings, whatever it is. You've kind of got these events that drive your nonprofit, that drive your fundraising. So how has this virus affected your plans for the summer? Like, what are you going to do? How do you stay afloat? How do you keep money rolling in? What are your educational outreach things going to be? Like, what's your plan?
Oh, well, so yeah, this is kind of hit us really hard. Luckily, I mean, as a foundation, we haven't had to do much fundraising. I think we find ourselves in a kind of an interesting spot in that after I had created the children's book honestly financed the foundation for about 4 years. I mean,
Wow.
we sold, uh, God, almost 12 or 15,000, somewhere in there, of the books alone, and the $10 a piece. That was good money. And we have no staff other than me, and everyone else is a volunteer. And the school shows, my kindness shows, schools paid for. So that was basically keeping honestly, that money is what kept the management side of things going. Basically my salary. And now with schools closed, that's cut off. And so the book's been out for 4 or 5 years, so sales, obviously, over time it's going to slow down. And so fundraising for us had either been that or the schools, and now I have neither. And so that's a little bit of a challenge, considering that's kind of what our main focuses are now. And the other thing is that this year we were supposed to. We have been doing these water safety assemblies for years, and honestly, before our foundation got involved in doing them, Bobby Hazen was with the Long Island Drowning Prevention Task Force that he had created, and he was doing them separately. And then we got together, and over the years have melded it together until we got to the point last year where we piloted our brand new program, Respect the Water. And this year we were going to unveil and put out there our brand new water safety show. And we were going to unveil it at the NDPA conference, which is happening right now, actually, online, which was supposed to be right now in Fort Worth, Texas. And so we had all these big plans, put a lot of money. We put a lot of money into getting this all together and getting it all ready to go. And totally shut off completely. And can't get into schools. So that's all been put on the back burner. But of course, all that money we spent is still out there. It's not coming back. And so you combine all that, and you're stuck with now, I have no way to really generate revenue. I mean, the cool thing is I put out a birthday fundraiser. So people ask me what I wanted for my birthday. I'm like, honestly, if you could help support the foundation, that would be great. And I did this on Facebook, and my initial goal was $500. I'm like, it would be nice if we made $500. Well, I made $800 in the first day I put it out there. And I'm
That's
like,
awesome.
wow. Yeah, no, it was great. And so I was like, all right, I'll up it. All right, let's make it 1,000. And then it went right to 1,000. And I'm like, all right, I'll put it up to 1,500. We made 1,500. And then about a week ago, I'm like, oh, let me put it up to 2,500. And boom, we hit 2,500 last night. So I was like, all right, that's the best birthday gift I could get. So I think, foundation's they're going to have to kind of adapt and really use the resources that being online presents. And I think a lot of foundations are discovering this, that, man, we didn't really have an online presence before all this, and it's hurt them. And maybe opening their eyes to the fact that, well, as a foundation, you have to think of a nonprofit. I think a lot of people think nonprofit means non-business and
I always think of nonprofits as a business whose only goal is to reinvest its profit back into the message instead of to the shareholders, right? So so in a business, you would distribute profits to the owners, and a nonprofit, how I always think of it, is that gets distributed into donations, right, or to the cause. And you're right. I don't think a lot of people think of it that way.
No, and honestly, your interpretation is exactly what a nonprofit should be. Unfortunately, most people think a nonprofit means that you're basically you're living a life of austerity, and so there's this disconnect that oh, if you're a nonprofit, you shouldn't be making money, and yeah, you are. You're a business, and all the same things that apply to any normal business applies to a nonprofit, except like you said, I don't have shareholders involved. I don't have anybody, but I still need to be solvent, and I still need to be profitable.
Right.
So yeah, so that's kind of there's that misnomer that this idea that you shouldn't be making money. Yeah, we have to make money.
Yeah, if I had a nonprofit, I would do what you did. I would sell products and services.
Yeah.
I would do what I do now. That's kind of how I'm wired, but I would do what I do now. Just the money would go somewhere else. In fact, when we were trying to figure out, because I wanted to do something, more than just sell pool fins, right? So I was trying to look for a charitable arm, and I was going to set up a separate nonprofit. But then I realized, one, I'm not wired for that, and two, I can do the same thing in the for-profit apparatus of Lifesaver Pool Fence through the Save a Life program. We can set up a program and donate pool fences to families who have had fatal or non-fatal drownings, or families that are selected by Live Like Jake or the NDPA, which we do, and we do a ton of those every year. And I can achieve that same thing, but through a business, which is how I know how to work. So yeah, there's for one, there's more than one way to do it. But yeah, like you're saying, if I was going to have a nonprofit, I'd be doing it exactly like you are. I'd be selling products and services to raise money to then do the things that my nonprofit wants to do with it.
Yeah, and that's what we do. I mean, I'm not a business person at all. My wife actually has her minor was business. So honestly, business side of things, even though I basically run the foundation, I'm always bouncing things off of her, like, what do I have to do here? And on our board, our treasurer, who happens to be our former au pair, who actually watched Reese. So she was Reese's au pair, her nanny. Her name is Melina. She lives in Germany, and she's a part of our family. Honestly, I named my youngest after her, so that should explain the relationship there. But she actually has a background. Her degree, her master's, is in business, and so honestly, she does most of that stuff for us, even over in Germany. So when people ask me who's your bookkeeper, I'm like, oh, she's a German. She lives in Berlin, but she does it all for us. But she honestly, it was her who helped set what we've done, and our online presence and the merchandise and stuff that we offer was all, honestly, almost all of it thought up by her, except for the book. I mean, the book was my idea, and that came from me. Although interestingly enough, I was in Germany when I had the idea for the book. We were actually with her, and I had actually gotten a message saying that our logo was a copyright infringement. The Reese dressed as Superman, and they're like, oh, you can't really use that. And I freaked out, and we came up with a new logo that had Reese riding on the tractor, and I needed context to it that other people would understand. I mean, for us, it meant something because Reese loved tractors, but how do I get that across as a meaning in the foundation? And my wife's like, oh, well, if he's riding a tractor and it's kindness, he's cultivating kindness. And then I got the idea for the children's book. And the book kind of, like I said, it took on a life of its own. And honestly, and then the book led to, the animated pilot, which led to the water safety short that we put out, and which is a part of the water safety program that now we're hoping to do in schools, which now has been shut down for this year. So, but yeah, circling back on this idea of how nonprofits deal with this, I think it's like what any business would have to do in these times. So, and I think a lot of nonprofits have discovered, unfortunately, the hard way, that they need to adjust how they do things, and that having an online presence and marketing and all that stuff is important, and they need to treat it like a business. And you know, I think businesses all around are being hurt by all this. And unless unless your job is to be online and is to do things that have been boosted by this particular situation, we all have to adapt. And so that adaptation has been a little tricky for me. I mean, my wife basically said to me, she's like, "You're unemployed right now, technically." And I was like, "That's a good way to put it." I mean, I'm not speaking at schools. That's what I do, and that opportunity won't exist probably until the fall again. And as far as revenue for the foundation, there's basically nothing coming in other than the few things we might sell online and like book sales, and then my online fundraiser. So I might try another one of those because this one was so successful. And by the way, still, if any of my friends are on Facebook, it's available until tomorrow. So if you want to donate to it, we've hit our goal, but I'm happy to go over it. And
so yeah, hold on. If somebody watching this wants to donate to that, what do they do?
if they go to if they look up Cultivate Kindness on Facebook, the fundraiser is posted there too. So you can just go right to our page on Facebook, and you can. I think it's the first post down is you can donate to the fundraiser. So that would be great. Yeah, and I always tell people, our 100% of our donated funds go to our charitable purposes. So any funds that are donated to the foundation go to what we do charitably, which is we do a lot. We do scholarships. In fact, I'm picking out our high school scholarships right now as we speak, and our winners. We have a toy drive every year. We've collected over 35,000 toys for kids on Long Island in the past 6 years. And obviously, we do the water safety and the kindness shows for the schools. And and we have a program called Paid Foodward, where we provide meals and sundries for families going through a hard time. So, I mean, we do a lot. And, I like to say that we can honestly say that 100% of the donated funds we get always go to what we do, charitably. So it's not going to my salary. So I don't want people to think that. The school shows do that. And like I said, I'm unemployed right now. So I'm actually looking. No, I really am. I'm looking for the foundation is going to be furloughing me, and I'm going to be looking to take some unemployment until this fall, until I can actually get back into schools.
Do you have a summer event that you guys do? Do you guys do any kind of in-person coordinated event usually?
No, summer's kind of quiet for me usually.
Okay.
Since a lot of what we do is focused around the school year for us. So usually when schools are out, things slow down for me. So it's funny, summer is the busy time for you. It's kind of my dead time.
Okay.
Because, once schools are out, a majority of what we do is kind of, put on hiatus until the schools open back up again. So we typically don't do much in the summer. As far as, fundraisers, like we've had fundraisers. We did a gala last year for the Respect the Water, but we did that in the spring. So most of the fundraising that we have done has been done either in the spring or the fall. Summer's actually a terrible time to raise funds. So, because that's the last thing people are thinking about. They kind of want to go out and do their own thing. And summer is not a great time for fundraising. So I don't know if a lot of fundraisers will be affected by anything this summer, but obviously springtime is huge. So springtime is one of the biggest fundraising times. And now, I know of a couple of foundations just by us that have had their big fundraisers canceled. And, that's a problem, when you count on those fundraisers. Like I can't imagine had we, it'd been 2 years ago or a year and a half ago when we did our gala. Like I can't imagine if we had put all that work in and then it's gone. And then, oh my God, and those funds that you basically, you count on a certain amount that you think you're going to make, that they're not there. And, if you're not, if you don't have that insulation and you don't have those other, aspects you can lean on to keep your foundation afloat, it's going to be a problem. And,
yeah, I mean, you think about the NDPA, right? And, I know the NDPA pretty well, and I'm sure they'll be fine. But, I know that a big part of what they do every year is this conference. And I wonder how many people decided to take that refund instead of do the online version. Probably a lot. And that's gotta hurt. I mean, this is it's their big event for the year.
Yeah, and it's funny because I was supposed to go and honestly, and we had paid for a sponsorship table and all that stuff. And I had contemplated pulling our sponsorship money out, and then I didn't because I thought about my position. I thought, well, my gosh, if we were doing the same, it would kill me to see all this come out. So I'm like, you know what? I'll keep my sponsorship in, and then, let's, we're gonna make the best of what we can with this online, you know, thing that they're doing, which honestly turned out better than I thought it would. I mean, they didn't have much time to put it together, and they did a great job. It's been, I've enjoyed it, honestly. I joked, I'm like, this is great. I get to get all the content. I can sit in my chair, my PJs, and multitask. I'm doing other work at the same time, and I can be a part of the seminars that I wanted to see. So in that aspect, it was kind of cool. Do I want to do it every year? No, but they adapted quickly. So like I said, if you adapt, I think you're going to be okay. You get through this. And I think the one saving grace for all of this is that we are all in the same boat. And this is worldwide. I have family in Germany. We talked to Melina. She's in the same exact boat. She's supposed to get married the end of June. We're supposed to fly out there. Yeah, I have the tickets and everything. I was supposed to fly out there. I'm actually officiating the wedding. So, and my wife is one of the bridesmaids. My daughters are the flower girls. I mean, I don't think it's going to happen. I hate to say it. And, but everybody's affected by this. So I think that's the one saving grace, is that because this is a universal, that I think the rebound will be different, because it's not one area here and this person's affected, but this one isn't. I think because it's this shared pain globally, I think the shared recovery will be that much bigger. And I mean, it's just a hypothesis. I can't prove it, but I'm hoping that my guess is right, because I really think that because of the shared nature of this, which I said to my wife, I'm like, this is bigger than the Great Depression, in the sense that the Great Depression really hit Western economies, but there are other parts of the world that weren't affected, and because we didn't have a truly global construct at the time, but we do now. And if there was ever any evidence of the fact that we are interconnected, it's through this. And I think that works conversely, in the sense that when the rebound comes, I think it'll be also together, because we've all experienced this. So that's my hope. My hope is that we'll come back from this even bigger and better. So
yeah, I mean, I think a lot about it, reminding myself how global it is, because it feels very local, right? It's all happening right here, right around you, right? You're thinking about your family. You're thinking, you're in seclusion. You're thinking about who's coming in your house. Like, it all feels very small sometimes. And I'm used to hunkering down and getting supplies and prepping for a hurricane, and it feels like that, right? It feels like a hurricane with the power on, without the wind and rain, right? But it's kind of a similar thing. You're going to the store and you're getting everything you need, and you're preparing for this catastrophe, and everybody's focused on the news. But the difference, like you said, is that it's not just happening right here. Like, I can't evacuate to California to get away from this. It's there too. I can't go to Japan and get away from this. It's there too. It's there's no safe ground. There's no higher ground I can go to escape this flood. It's yeah, I think it feels good because it's everybody. But for me, actually, it kind of makes me more nervous, because it feels like there's nowhere safe. Like, I could go to the moon, but short of that, there's nowhere I can go to kind of get away from it. And that part of it actually kind of makes me nervous, because with a hurricane, I always think, oh well, if I had to, if it's Category 5, it's coming to my house, I could drive to Georgia if I had to, right? There's no driving to Georgia for this. Like, this is everywhere.
yeah, well, I mean, I guess there's always two ways to look at things. I mean, one of the things in my wife's homemade card was that she said she loved my ability to always see the positive in something. And I thought to myself, I'm like, well, there always is. There's always, it's like, that's alien to me. Like, I can always find a way to find, well, you give me the negative, well, I'll give you the positive. I can figure it out. I can figure out what the opposite is. So I tend to do that all the time in situations like this. So I see, yeah, absolutely. I see the suffering, and I feel it myself. I mean, my sister, I remember 2 weeks ago, I got a text from her. Today's the worst day of my life. You know, she got furloughed. You know, her husband, you know, they just bought a new house and all this. And I texted her back and I said, you know, I understand that it's bad, but you know, remember we're all in this, and you know, it's not just you going through this. And I think that's actually a good thing, because if it were just you, it's easy to dismiss one person. Right? I mean, someone, you know, think of walking through a city and you see a homeless person on the street. You know, most people just walk by because it's easy to dismiss them because that's the exception. But when it becomes the rule, then people think differently. And I think that to me is the benefit here, is that we see that this is now the rule. And because of that, we have to work together. We're kind of forced to work together. And that's a good thing. And so my hope is the person who always sees the positive in things is that my hope is that people will learn from this and be like, you know what, there's something to be gained from this too. And, you know, we can do this together. So yeah, there is nowhere to escape. You're absolutely right. I mean, I have property in upstate New York, and I've always joked that, you know, I told my family, they all know, like, in the case of the apocalypse, I'm heading up to my mountain. So my daughter joked with me the other day. She goes, "Daddy, is it time? Is it time to go up on the mountain?" And I was like, "Well, I want to go up there, but no, it's not time to, you know, to go hunker down and get all Walking Dead." But yeah, I mean, this is it's a shared pain, and I think, you know, there's things to be learned from it, and actions have reactions, and hopefully the reaction to this will be a positive, and we'll get out of it quickly. So I hope so, because I know, you know, my positivity can only last so long. You know, I'm like, all right, I'm good until about September or October, and as long as things rebound by then, I should be okay. After that, then then maybe I'll start to worry.
And you know, another thing that's good about it is that because everyone's going through it, and because the cause is this thing outside anyone's control, normally if your business is failing or you see somebody in a hard spot, you can kind of say, well, what did they do to get there? You know, you made bad choices and now you're in a bad situation. But with this, you know, if you're a restaurateur and you're out of business, that's not your fault. You literally, you could have done everything right, and this came out of nowhere and broadsided you. And you know, no one's going to blame you for that. So I think people are going to be more willing to help because the cause is so clearly, you know, no one's fault, you know.
Well, yeah, and actually, it's funny. I have anecdotal evidence that backs that up, because, and it's funny how life has a way of proving these things. This past winter, when we did our toy drive, we've had a family that every year they do a big holiday party. When I say big, I'm talking like, you know, hundreds of people. They have a whole like tent put up behind their house. It's heated, and it's like, it's crazy. I mean, they go, you know, way overboard, and which is great. I shouldn't say overboard in a bad way. And the one prerequisite they have for every guest who comes to their party is that they all bring a toy for our toy drive. And I honestly, I collect more toys from this family that does this one simple act than almost any of the other. I mean, we have like over 70 locations that we have toy drops, and they almost match what I do in those 70 drops. I mean, it's incredible. And so this year, when I went to go pick up the toys, their party gets bigger and bigger every year, so I tend to get more and more toys every year. But I'll never forget the conversation I had with the father. He said, "Oh, this, you know, the economy's doing great. I mean, you know, you must be, you know, it must be your biggest year for toys." And I looked at him. I said, "Actually, it's the worst." And he's like, "Really?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "In my experience in doing this, as the economy gets better and as people are doing better, they give less." And almost every nonprofit owner I've spoken to will tell me that in return. Yeah, when things are going well, nonprofits suffer. And I was like, I know the answer. Like, it stuck right out. I was like, because when things are going well, we tend to self-project and think, well, if it's going well for me, it's going well for everyone else. What I don't need to do as much. So if and that's just, it's not selfish. It's human psychology. And he looked at me, he goes, "Really?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I was like, our toy donations are down. A couple of the foundations that do toy drives, they all reached out to me this year. I'm like, "Are your toy, you know, your numbers down?" I'm like, "Yeah, they're down." I mean, we had our biggest year only because we added more locations, but our you know, the net we got from each location was down by quite a bit. And, you know, I've done on Facebook, I've done this birthday, you know, fundraiser every year. And I've always made a couple $100. And I was like, that's great. This year I put it out and make $2,500. And why?
Right.
Because there's this shared experience. So I think that's where I get my positivity from, because I see it. I see that when we share a pain, then people's understanding of it becomes different. And we're more apt to respond in a way that reflects our own experiences. And so that's where the positive side of this comes out in me. And that's where I think, you know, yeah, we can definitely take this and learn from it and do better things. So hopefully that's the case.
Awesome. So wrap this up. Last thing from me. If you see somebody wearing a mask, thank them for protecting you. And if somebody comes up to you without a mask, say, hey, back up. You're not wearing a mask. How dare you? How dare you talk to me with your face in my face without a mask? That's so rude. And yeah, anything you want to share with folks? So they got to go donate. They got to go to Cultivate Kindness. And today is the last day for them, whatever day today is, whatever day it is the last day. Whatever day you're watching this is the last day to go to the Cultivate Kindness Facebook page and donate to their fundraiser. So you should do that. It's just Cultivate Kindness on Facebook, easy to find, and yeah, definitely, you know, break his record because they deserve it, and they need to donate more toys and spread more kindness around the world.
Well, thank you. And yeah, absolutely. You can go to Cultivate Kindness on Facebook, or you can go to our website, respectlife.com. It connects to our Facebook page, and you can see the fundraiser there. I don't think I can share it any other way, but if I could, I would. But yeah,
We'll put a link in the comments. How about that? So
that'd
on
be
Facebook
cool.
at least, and YouTube, we'll have a link to it.
Yeah, that'd be cool. So yeah, and Eric, I love your idea. You know, like if you see somebody wearing a mask, thank them. And you know,
Because they're protecting you, right? That's what
right.
it's for.
And if they're not wearing a mask, I don't know if I would. I'm not. I
How
don't
dare
know if
you?
I'm brave. I don't know if I'm brave enough to be like, oh man, you know, thanks a lot.
Yeah.
But I certainly would thank someone who's wearing the mask, and I don't think it's bad to think inside of your head if the person isn't wearing a mask, like, oh, really, thanks a lot. But I have to say, when I went to go get my breakfast sandwiches this morning, a bunch of people came in wearing their masks. And then one guy came in, walked right behind me, not wearing a mask. I'm like, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, don't sneeze on me. Don't sneeze on me. Please don't breathe on me. So yeah, definitely appreciated. So you know what? That's your act of kindness.
I think a lot of people are wearing masks and they're protecting them, which they do a little bit, like you said, right? It doesn't have a zero effect. But I think if people really understood that they're doing it for others, for me, I think that makes me more inclined. And you talked about the Asian countries, you know, so I think one of the reasons why you see people wearing masks in footage and when you're there is because they might be sick, they might have something. And if you know, have a coughing fit or a sneezing fit in those Asian countries, and you don't have a mask on, people look at you like you're the devil, right? Like you've really just done something awful. And we haven't built that into our culture yet. But like I said, I think if this goes on, like you mentioned, you know, this idea that you need to protect everybody else from you and that we're all in this together, I think that, you know, that might start to catch on.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to wrap things up. You know, that what better way to cultivate kindness than to keep your germs to yourself. So
That's it. Yeah, your mask is a cultivate kindness. You should make cultivate kindness masks.
oh, you know what? That's a great idea. But you know, that'll be another case of I made the mask, and then the pandemic will end, and I'm gonna be sitting with 450,000 N95 masks that
No,
that
not
dry rot.
95. Do the hand, because all you need is the bandana. Do the ones that
That's
take
right.
30 seconds out of a piece of cloth, have a printed piece of material that says, I cultivate kindness by keeping my cultivations to myself. Or I spread kindness by not spreading germs, or whatever it is.
Oh, I love
And
that. Look at
yeah,
you, Eric.
yeah, you print that. It's like I'm a marketer or something. And then you print that on the front, and yeah, you know, this little homemade 30-second jobbies that do the job. That's what you need.
Well, my wife has been sewing these masks. She made me one. It's a Spider-Man mask. So you know, I
Yeah,
have my own little Spider-Man mask. Like, I think you're onto something. You know what? I'm gonna go downstairs and tell my wife. All right, get to it. Get those sewing machines out. Let's go.
yeah. We need. You just need to print a piece of material. Yeah, I spread kindness by not spreading germs. Cultivate kindness, respect.
There you go. That's perfect. I may have to make
Awesome.
a little meme that I put on Facebook today. Thank you.
Yeah, and then you can sell them on the interwebs to raise money in lieu of your speaking gigs.
See, marketing. That's every foundation should do it. So.
That's it. That's how you do it. All right, man.
All right. Well, thank you, Eric.
Talking to you guys. Thank you, everybody. We will be back next week. And thanks for doing this. This is cool. I enjoy it. It's a good part of my week. So
yeah,
I
me
hope
too.
you guys enjoy it too. And if you want us to talk about anything or have any suggestions, or if you think you might have some insight to join us as a guest, let me know and we'll make it happen.
Awesome.
Bye, y'all.